Sarcastic here with the Hyperloops. Nice to see you guys again. It's been like 1 or 2 days. So I'm currently working about 5 days a week right now, so plenty of time to talk in the car and do vlogs, but very little time to do actual recordings. I have a couple recordings banked, but I forgot to upload them at night before I went to sleep, and when I tried to turn on the PC this morning, my computer stopped at the Windows logo and just never went past it. I didn't have time to wait for it a second time, so after about 5 minutes I was like, alright, I gotta run, so I'm not late for work. But yeah, I'm currently going to be 20 minutes early for work. Gotta love traffic. Alright, so what I was thinking about today is we were just talking recently on the Discord about random shit, pretty much. But there were there were about 3 decks I kind of wanted to work on. So the initial theory was I wanted to go back to test out the whole like Cannon Ezra rookie pilot deck from like ages ago. But as I realistically thought about it, I didn't feel that Cannon was, kind of worth it to me. I much prefer to have the resource off Yoda and have to kind of deal with removal than to have a bunch of sides that I'm gonna have to reroll realistically a shit ton. The damage there in theory could have came out the cut and done a lot of shit, but for now I think that just wasn't going to be as good as Yoda. So now if we go back to the whole like drive-by theory, what we could do here is we go away from the big vehicles. When I say the big vehicles, I mean the 3 drops. So now in theory, let's say we keep T-47 and we keep Resistance Crate Speeder, since they both have 2 sets of 2s. Like the crate is realistically on a 2 indirect, but you'll take the single 1 base on it, and indeed it always gets that 1 extra shot for the pump, so it's not like a huge dilemma. Plus we could always double grab resource off of it and be in a good spot for paying for other things. So it will line up with those 4. Then the theory, we're still gonna run DH-17s, and we're gonna have Ezra's lightsabers, because that kind of that's the personification of a 1-2-2 upgrade, and it also happened to have redeploy. Now the thing we're gonna do here is we're also gonna run 2 force waves. So at Worlds, I expected kind of a lot more decks where I needed to force wave than I would have, than I actually did, because it was back to like a 2-character format. But now we're kind of staring at this mixed posture where like all the Snoke decks are 3-die deck or 3-character decks, and there should be a lot of them running around. So 2 force waves in the deck means you can do a lot of good here. We have the equivalent to 2 blue characters, but we are in a dangerous spot if we try to jam a force wave on Ezra and we're playing against an actual aggro deck. But that's the theory. So 2 Ezra Sabers, 2 force waves, 2 DH-17s, 2 T-47s, 2 crate speeders. I think there's realistically like a couple slots left. So we're at 10 damage upgrades. So let's put in 2 Y-Wings. Y-Wing just always seemed ridiculous. So like in theory against Snoke, when he populates a bunch of resources, you're like, oh well crap, this Y-Wing's not going to do anything. But if you Y-Wing for 4 resources, I think you can't really complain, because your opponent took a damage to get the 2 resources, and they had to die for the 3rd resource. So then like the Y-Wing special in theory will trade at that point, as if it was 1 damage, 2 resources, or sorry, 1 damage, their die, and then you still have 1 left for the other thing, whether they pay another resource or take an extra damage with it. And I think you're perfectly content with that, and especially since like a lot of the Snoke decks that make a bunch of resources they need to spend their money. So like if people are going to have a bunch of money, then it means we can also feed off of Ezra specials, and we're pretty happy about that as well. So I think we're in a good spot there. So that would put us to 12, pretty much dice via damage. And I'll stop at that point just for now, because like we would need more testing to see if we're being short of damage and whatnot. And Yoda could in theory carry the game with just a single force wave. Now the other thing I want to do here is I want to kind of prevent removal from being as good as it is. So we're going to put in 2 force speeds. And the rationale here is that we once again have 2 guys we can put it on. We want the value gained from it. Anytime there's a 4-speed, shit kind of gets scary. If, let's say, Ezra has a 4-speed and the Yoda has a force wave, you know, Ezra could potentially protect the 70% rollout. It's the same theory that I was kind of talking about when it came to, like, Luke. You know, if Luke has a 4-speed and he's protecting, you know, the Yoda with the force wave via, like, you can hit either of the specials, or you could hit the actual special on either special on Yoda or at the actual special on force wave. So that's 70%. That's a pretty good clip. So we're gonna do 2 force speeds in there. So we should be at 8 upgrades right now, and then the 6 vehicles. So we're at 14. So we got 16 left in the deck. So now we're going to go build out the defense, and I think we probably need about 12 defensive cards. We could potentially go lower. So we have about 4 spots to play with. So we could either go with like ramp, or you know, put any of those to like actual damage sides. But we're gonna go. My thinking here is that I probably just want. Let's see, Rally Aid would make things a little weird in that in like the upgrade portion. It would still be good with the vehicles, and in theory I could still gain benefits over time. So I think I would dedicate those 4 slots to, I can test it as like 2 Rally Aids and 2 Friends in Low Places, just so we can protect the damage output we want to do round 1. So if I tie it as that, the other thing is, like, realistically we didn't get to run like C-3PO or Chance Cube there. I skip out on Chance Cube primarily because I think people are back to running Doubts with Hidden Motives, and that's pretty much 4 too many cards that can completely mess up our round 1 if we start with the cube. Like, sure, we've made things cheaper, so maybe it's perfectly fine to go cube on Yoda roll out, special to 3, we're back at 2 resources. So even if that gets eaten, we could realistically still cope with the round and not be all messed up. Just not sure how much I kind of like that theory, but we could always go back and test it out. So actually here we'll go 1 Rally Aid, 1 Chance Cube, or well, Rally Aid's kind of slow. Alright, so we're actually just going to put Chance Cubes in the Rally Aid slot, which in theory is a huge dilemma, but since we have 6 vehicles instead of a bunch of the other stuff, it'll let us potentially do round 1 force waves more reasonably, because we could go Yoda the cube, and if we get the money then we can just jam the force wave on Ezra. It messes with the way we want to kind of activate, but it should be fine. So maybe I just don't care about Friends in Low Places. Anyway, so like those 4 slots are going to go towards like ramp or Friends in Low Places. There's not much else I'd really run there besides, you know, C-3PO. C-3PO could be very good, but we don't have infinite base sides to kind of work with from a damage standpoint. Like, we have the 2s from the T-47s, the 2s from the crates, and the 2s from the Y-Wings. Like, we want to get the specials there. We don't mind getting special off of Ezra Saber. I just don't know how much value I could get off of that. I guess if I ever, you know, flip the cube to 3, I can turn those into 3 damage. I just don't know how good the C-3PO would be there with the current lineup. I think with big vehicles it'd be perfectly fine, because then you're just like, all right, you know, Hailfires are just going to get me more money or something. But yeah, so we'll go with like 2 cubes and 2 friends in low places. No, I don't know, man. Really want rally in there, but like it's very inefficient with upgrades and like removal in hand. I don't know. So whatever. So we got those 4 slots, and we'll figure out those as we play. For the 12 removal setup, we're looking at 2 cautions, 2 hidden motives. We don't really put an upgrade on our boy rookie pilot as much. So my thinking is that we can go and probably run 2 garbage chutes. But like the dilemma is, like, garbage chute, like you play against like Thrawn Snoke, it's not like amazing. Alright, so let's just go back. 2 hidden motives, 2 cautions, 2 illusions. So we've used up 6, all on blue stuff. So we have 6 slots left. And the normal stuff we think about is like, all right, you know, overconfidence, field medics, easy picking. We're gonna have at least 1 easy picking. I think if we were going for blowout stuff, we go 2. But if we run friends in low places, I don't want 2. I only want 1. Just because if Ezra dies, like, shit's just not good. So like, we could go. Let's see what's in the format right now that we're really concerned about. I think we might be slow enough to run flank again. But we can go. So we can just do like a 6-man 1-of sweep. So we'll go like 1 pin down, 1 flank, 1 mind trick, 1 easy picking, 1 garbage chute. And is there another 0 I can run? There's really just not many 0s that are like viable there. I could put a negotiate. I'm trying to think what that would even be good against. I'm not quite sure. I might also switch out Y-Wing for Fang Fighter if my plan is to just burst guys down, which I think it is. So like, we'll switch out Y-Wing back for Fang. Y-Wing's just a better card, but Fang will let us target better, and it has 2 base sides to go with the modifiers that we have. I don't know, man. Y-Wing's so sexy though. Y-Wing works really well with Force Wave. I don't know. We'll figure out the Y-Wing the Fang Fighter thing, like, after getting reps in. But that's why, for the most part, when it comes to like ramp engine and removal, I'm always like, I don't know. So we went those 5 1-ofs. Yeah, so I don't know what we would go for the last one. I'm trying to think if there's anything that could be like great blowout potential. Easy pickings is not like amazing in the slow resolve format, but if we're playing against a bunch of Snoke decks, then they do have sides that can match up more easily, like the blanks and whatnot. I don't really want to run deflect. I don't really want to run 2 garbage chutes. I used to run an overconfidence. Yeah, I don't care about that either. I don't know. So we have 1 slot left for removal. So you can just kind of put in whatever the heck you want. In theory, it should be fine though. So like, even if we want to move that over to a ramp slot, that could potentially be well worth it. But I think that 11 to 12 range for removal / mitigation is probably the sweet spot. So probably put in a second pin down or something, just to make sure that you get to eat the dice that you want to eat. But like we only have 6 vehicles, so pin down's not really great there either. If we go with no friends and no places, then you could just put like a second easy pickings. I don't think I care for Scruffy realistically there. If we wanted crazy bursty things, we could like put all in. But that's the theory of the deck at least. Like we have the access to the Force Wave. We have Ezra Sabers and DH-17s, T-47s and crates for the early drop downs, and then potentially Y-Wing or Fang Fighter if we feel that we want the later ones. But we actually, I think we need another 0 drop, so maybe even run something like Lost Cat. But I really hate the theory on giving up my own die for one of their dice. I'd prefer some other 0 drop if we can figure one out. I think Narrow Escape's that one where you have no cards, so you can eat a die for 0. But I don't know about that. I don't think we'll be fast enough for Duggan. I guess Overconfidence is the realistic one that I can think of. Like, I guess we just put the Overconfidence because there's a lot of focus where people will focus 2 dice and then now you're just like, well, I don't want those on those sides, so you just kind of re-roll and go for it. Yeah, that seems the most reasonable. Like, I don't know how great the deck's gonna be, but like in theory, Drive-By was always in a solid spot. We slowed it down for more vehicles, and now we're just putting Force Wave in to get additional, damage in if stuff's going alright. And I think cautions in general are very good versus like the Afro deck, because when you generate a bunch of shields, like it causes problems for them. Garbage Chute could be okay there, not amazing, but your deck should work perfectly fine. In theory, you can just try to burst down Snoke. And I think your damage output should stay up there just because of the way it is. Alright, and then like pretty much the second set of deck was one I was talking about a second ago on Discord. So it was an Elite Ezra 2, so the blue one, a Gungan Warrior, and then an Elite 13-point character. So we still have 5 dice. We have all base sides. Now, the thinking here is that if I just go Yoda because of the money again, and like the fixing sides, then things can be kind of pretty for the upgrades. Because so like now we'll have, alright, well we have 3 dice to work with Vibro Knife. We'll have the same thing for Ancient, and we can still get Force Waves in the deck. Everything right now is going to be like, I want Force Waves. So the lineup should be 2 Force Speeds, 2 Ezra Saber, 2 Ancients, 2 Vibro Knives, 2 Force Waves. Oh, you know what? I think I gave up 2 spots to Force Speeds in the other deck, and I forgot to account for them, right? No, I got 12 dice into 4 Speeds. Yeah, no, never mind, I counted for it. Okay, so yeah, we've got the 6 2 drops, 2 4 Speeds. The thing here is I have to decide how, kind of like just how I want to deal with what's going on. So we have 6 2 drops, 2 Force Waves. So I've got 2 slots left. Now the thing is I can either go something like, I'd probably just go like an Heirloom and a Dagger of Mortis maybe, because the way that they have redeploy and I want to eat over like Force Waves. I don't know if I really eat over Ancients or Vibro Knives. I guess I would if my guy's gonna die. But those seem the most reasonable. When Ezra 2 dies, like our actual base sides get pretty rough. But I think it's perfectly fine with just the number of sheer upgrades we had there, because we'll have the 10 of them. So then we go. So we had 2 4-speeds, so we're at 12 upgrades. And now we've got 2, 4, 6. So we've only got 8 blue upgrades. I think. That's where drop cards. I don't know if there's another upgrade that we realistically want. I'm trying to think if there's something for like 1 that's viable, and I can't really think of anything. Like, in theory, we could just run Luke's Rod, because we don't care that something's a weapon or not, for like Shoto. So if we wanted, we like a Luke's Rod could be like a 7th upgrade there, and it has the 1/2/2 on it. That is real good. So I think I'll do that. I'm trying to think if there's any. Like, I don't mind running like Crate Speeder in this deck. We have the red access, and I don't need to be all melee. We only have one mod side on each of the Ancients, the Vibro, Dagger. So like, in theory, if I just wanted the vehicles, so that if I ever took the opponent's battlefield, like I got the alpha, then I could use it. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to take a peek at that and see if it's worth it. But we'll continue like this for now. So we'll go with 1 Luke's Rod to make it 11. So we've got 11 into 4 speeds at 13. So if we go 12 pieces of mitigation, we have 5 left to mess with. We only need red. So what did we have for mitigation? So I think for this deck, I definitely want a C3PO, so that I can take any of my 2s and fix the sides that I need to. Can also use the Ezra Saber for that. I guess I have the Yoda already too. C3PO in theory might be overkill. It's just such a good card though, so like, it's hard to not run it. Just thinking. Alright, so we'll go no C3PO for now. So if we go, so we had all those, we had the Force Waves. 4, 7, 11, 13. Okay. So ramp stuff, I don't know, do we just run cube? Because cube is cube. Like, it makes sense. So we'll just put the 2 cubes in, and then we have 3 left, so we'll put 2 CQAs. And Binds is really slow and dirtily. Kind of just doesn't make me happy about things. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Like, I get the shield ones. I think we'll just put the 13th piece of mitigation. And be prepared to kind of just play it slowly. Like, there should be available options there. But let's go over the removal. So we got 2 hidden motives, 2 cautions, 2 illusions. We're a melee deck, so I'm gonna go with 2 guards. So we're at 8, and we've got 5 left. I want 2 Force Misdirections, because we have all those different sides now, and 2 actual blue guys. So we are at 10, and there's 3 spots left, and so no pin downs. In theory, I could run a flank, but I'm more inclined to activate my guys here. So what did we just have for removal? Can't run easy picking. I will put a garbage chute, so there's 2 left. A mind trick, So there's one left. I think in this deck I don't mind running Deflect. And yeah, we'll just put Deflect as the additional last card. So I think that should do it, because we had 13 removal, 11 damage upgrades, what is that, 14, 2 force speeds, 2 CQAs, and 2 chance cubes. So like, you could also just put in defensive positions as like a one-of, which could be really good, and should probably go in there. Over what, I don't know. But the big things for me here is that, like, so Force Misdirection could be a blowout. We have the 2 Ezra Sabers in the deck, and Yoda has 5 different sides, symbols. Ezra has the melee to go on top of similar symbols. Ezra Saber has the range side, and we can get some indirect sides from Force Wave. And so, like, plenty of bad things could happen to the opponent with that deck. And we have a bunch of stuff that costs 0, so when we jam out all of our money onto upgrades, we don't really feel bad. We have to get like 3 on Ancients, we can do that stuff. We could also potentially put a single all-in on deck. And it'll allow us to go 4-speed crack into rollout into like all-ins for, you know, Ancient Vibro Knife, like unblockable chains. So like that might be pretty clutch there. Back in the drive-by deck, we could have potentially put Impulsive in the deck to also sneak kills, since we can Impulsive off of like a special to the base side and then get the kill. But yeah, so theory there is that like it's 3 wide, it's going to be big and bulky, it's got melee, and melee has like, you know, the best upgrades, vehicles have like the best consistency from the thing, but being able to show 3s and 2s on Vibro Knives could just bypass shields and illusions and whatnot and just kill people. CQA is always good for doing like minor blowouts. In theory here we're a little slow, which is perfectly fine, just because Ezra is the main guy who would carry like CQA stuff, so he probably gets our first upgrade, so decent odds to be able to CQA for 2, I think, once we have like an Ancient or a Vibro on him. The Ezra Saber doesn't do anything for us there, with the Heirloom and the Dagger of Mortis should. Force Waves is always for 3-wide decks, so like there could be something there. Like there's enough interesting things where like there should be some viable 3-wide deck. That deck has 24 health, same as Drive-By, so it's not like a ton, but we still, you know, we have access to the Hidden Motives, the Cautions, and the Guards, and the Illusions, and those are all, you know, cheap at being big effective pieces of removal. The Force Misdirection should be like, could be really huge against certain decks, especially if we like roll out into like an indirect and someone's playing, you know, primarily indirect deck. So the After stuff, that could be huge, or if we spine the Focus and then, you know, Snow rolls out into like multi-focus, you're just like, oh, all your dice, we kill all those. So the third deck I was thinking was actually a Cassian based one. So there were a couple ways to do this. I really wanted blue because I want the Cautions and the Hidden Motives. For me, they're very big. I think they're quite amazing at kind of just blocking out the damage that would have come. Hidden Motive's really good against Chance Cube, so they flipped it to a 3, and now we're going to Hidden Motive to 50-50 on if that's gone and they lost a resource. And like the whole Caution thing is just huge because it feels like I'm doing Duggan level stuff. So one of the ways you could attempt to run this is without blue, and it's Elite Cassian, Elite Ezra 1, and like a Gungan Warrior. Or I probably wouldn't run it as a Jawa just because you'd be mono yellow at that point. So like if you wanted some of the control aspects, that could be really interesting there. But the theory I want here is that I wanted to kind of give them other targets, but I also wanted like a discount to start the game. So it's Elite Cassian, a Padawan, and I can't remember the 8-cost red characters, so we're gonna go with like a clone trooper. There is like the rebel trooper who could actually guardian a die away so Cassian doesn't take it, but his damage sides are only like 1/2/1 shield resource, and I'm not sure if I'm not sure how much I want that. Whereas the clone trooper has the 1 extra health, and he's 2 indirect resource. But he has 2 blinks, but he gets to reroll his die, so like that's pretty good. To avoid the blank, you instead of being 1 and 3 for the blank, you end up being 66 plus another 2/3, so 88% to just not be showing blank when clone trooper rolls out. And if you have a battlefield, then you at least you can, try to reroll like a Cassian die. So the theory here is that Padawan's going to give us. This guy's an idiot. So the theory here is that the Padawan's going to give us a single, time discount on one of our weapons. So we can get DH-17 for 0 round 1, meaning we can cast a 2-drop and get DH-17 down. We could also cast like a 2-drop on Padawan and still have 1 left over to potentially represent removal. Or maybe if we get another resource somewhere, then we can use that resource to pair down with another 2-drop. So, okay, plenty of time. So the theory here is 2 DH-17s, 2 Ezra Sabers, and you'll notice Ezra Sabers and everything. Ezra Saber is just, to me, better than Holdout Blaster. It has the 1/2/2. The side's sure incompatible, but I don't have to freaking worry about a pay side. So for me, that's amazing. So DH-17s, Ezra Sabers. The question ends up being like, all right, now what do we do with the other stuff? So the thinking is that like I don't particularly care about being fast, like at any point in time. And the best 2-drop, guns, quote unquote, are all actually vehicles. So if the theory is damage output and consistency, then we're looking at T-47 and Resistance Crate Speeder. We want to get something down for 2. We want it to be usable throughout the game, and if our guy dies, that's bad. But the dilemma is if I don't play a bunch of guns, then I can't get the Padawan discount. So like, where do you draw the line? You really don't want to suit up Cassian to die. So like, there's that whole dynamic. In theory, if you're fine losing red, which I think we're perfectly fine with, then I think Cassian and 2 Padawans could be super duper interesting. Primarily because like Cassian's good on his own. They're going to target him. And you can suit up Padawans in the meantime. While they're targeting him, you can caution hidden motive for him, guard for him. So if we went like melee based, but then had Cassian there to harass and input damage as he's being focused down, like we could potentially be kind of similar to the Plo Koon deck, but with Cassian instead in yellow. But like, because Padawans open up some weird shit where we could be like, all right, if we go guns, we can get like DL-44 for 2. But then it's like, all right, so with the Clone Trooper, DL-44 is fine, because if you DL-44 Padawan, you're looking at 3 for a resource plus 2 resource. But you get to eat an opponent's die. So like, that round 1 could be really explosive with the 3 of the 2 when you pair it with the Clone Trooper or the Cassian die. So I think there's a bunch of different ways to go with it. There could be something there. In theory, if you're going with Cassian, the ability to put cautions and force illusion on him means he's going to stay alive, and the longer he stays alive, the more he harasses the opponent. The only dilemma is that, like, how often do you actually want the discard sides? I think the indirect you get matters pretty much no matter what. So even on the base 1, you're just gonna keep it. You're gonna obviously love the 2. You're gonna love the resource. So it's kind of just like, what do we do with the rest of this, you know? So I don't have kind of a list for that deck and how I would want to run it, because the dilemma is if you put pretty much blue weapons, you're going to become like a melee based deck. In theory, we could just run Ancient, Ezra's Lightsaber, what, T-47. I don't know. I really have to go look at this, because like with 2 Padawans opens up the ability to play 2/2 drops round 1. So if you can play 2/2 drops round 1, then you can do some stuff that's relatively strong. So like I'm just trying to think, like, how rough would it be though if you're like casting X8 and, you know, like an Ancient Lightsaber. Like the gun pay sides are pretty brutal. So I don't know. I'd probably try it first with the Clone Trooper and see how it goes, and then you can actually just run C-3PO, and you can C-3PO the Cassian discard sides to be like resources if you wanted, or, you know, damage, so that you're always kind of happy with those. The C-3PO would also let you fix your other dice, and you have a bunch of 2s to go around, so like that. So like the Clone Trooper in theory makes the most sense, just because access to C-3PO and DH-17. So I think I'll try it with that. But it's DH-17, like Ezra's Lightsaber, and then kind of whatever you know, other upgrades you think are viable. Like you probably want redeploys, so that if your guys getting focused down, you can switch them over. I don't think you can run Second Chance in this. The deck might be kind of slow, but I don't know. There could be some really interesting things here. Like if we go, what, 8 damage upgrades for weapons, and then what, 2 T-47s and 2 Crate Speeders. In theory, the damage output could potentially be there. We don't do Force Speeds, I think, this time, just because Padawan, and if we don't start with the weapon, we don't want to cast the Force Speed either. We don't have the second blue character. It's Protect Cassian.deck, so you probably still run Easy Pickings and Friends in Low Places. We had Hidden Motive Cautions, Force Illusions, probably about 6 slots left, so just go with like the mix again, where it's like 1 Garbage Chute, no pin down, so like 1 Flank, 1 Overconfidence, 2 Easy Pickings, because like we can just throw both shields on Cassian at the beginning and be like, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It could be really interesting. Because like I'd much rather have Cassian than Rex, right? Like Rex taking battlefield's interesting, but Cassian's damage over time is just really strong. I have to re-go look through the upgrades. I haven't run actual gun upgrades in a long time, and I think E11 blaster we could run. 1 + 2 indirect shield resource, so we could get that for 1 on Padawan, and I think we'd be pretty content overall with that being there. So 2 DHs, 2 Ezra Saber, 2 E11s. We've got 4 redeploys already, so we can just mix and match stuff up and be like, you know, 1 X8, 1 holdout, 1 hidden, something like that. But I don't know. Who knows? I'll stop this one here. I gotta go to work. But yeah, no, I say mess with it, guys. See if you guys can figure anything out. Could be super duper interesting. I think the Ezra with the Gungan could be really funny though, because you just start with the 5 dice again and you just harass your opponent. But the removal suite is much tougher there, because you don't have Caution and Hidden Motive, and like those 0 drops are just really amazing for those round 1s where you want to spend all your money on the vehicle. On your die upgrades. Like when you have to spend 1 every time to cast removal, you end up being in a bad spot, kind of like Jedha, 2 Jedha, Rose, where they have to make resources in order to cast removal, and it's just not good there. But I don't know. we'll kind of play it by ear and figure it out. Like in theory, you could also go like Elite Anakin there, but I want damage, and Ezra's a big fucking dick. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. You guys have a good one, and deuces.